Good evening, everyone. This is my official welcome. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the first in our 2015 Reiki Awakening Academy free interview series. I'm very excited tonight. We have a wonderful guest, and we're starting off on a very happy note because we bring you Stephen Whiteley. But before I introduce him and all of the amazingness about him, I would like to say hello, especially to the Associate Director of Reiki Awakening Academy and my very good friend, Connie Dohan. Hello, Connie.
Together we are Reiki Awakening Academy. It takes the two of us.
We are bringing to you excellence in online holistic and metaphysical education. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because they won't if they've ever tried us. You know, it's funny because today Joan would know this because it's in her group on Facebook. There's a very big Reiki group on Facebook, and there's always a debate about online versus in-person education, and so many people saying that online is inferior to in-person. And we are really out to change that and to say that we can be as strong, as effective online because we have dedicated teachers who really care, who really provide personal one-on-one support, and who are here to help people learn. And we have this wonderful state-of-the-art virtual classroom in which we all have gathered tonight, or those who are watching the recording, you will be seeing exactly what's happening here. And we have the ability to really connect with all of our students, and we provide lifetime support, and we are really so proud of what we do that we even offer a money-back guarantee, which we have never needed to act on. It's just out there. People are always happy with our classes. So I just want to say, thank you, Joan. Let's just be here to dispel the myth that online education is anything but powerfully effective. And so there's my little speech for the beginning of our talk, but now we're going to have some fun tonight. I'm very, very excited. I recently met Stephen Whiteley as I helped him with the launch of his new book, which you will hear about shortly. And he also, I'm very blessed to say that he endorsed one of my new publications, A Moment for Us, which is about 30-second ways for couples to reconnect in many ways and help their relationships grow and get stronger. So I'm very honored to have his name and endorsement on the back of my book, and I bring him here to introduce him to you because we're talking about happiness, and it's such an elusive concept for so many people, and I really want to get Stephen to share so much of what he's learned and accomplished about happiness, because there's so much here that we can learn. So I'm going to more officially tell you about him right now, and then we'll go into our actual interview. So Stephen Whiteley is a former fighter pilot and Royal Canadian Air Force senior officer. Connie's originally from Canada. He transformed his own life from being a master of destruction in his former job to being a master of happiness and harmony now. Stephen loves teaching others to do the same. He has founded a company called Happiness Works, in which he specializes in helping others to end unhappiness for good, and has been doing this for more than 7 years. Stephen was awarded the title of Inspirational Man of the Year, which I think is pretty cool. That was awarded by Ashford Radio Publishing, and he's the author of a book called The Inspirational Book of the Year, which is called Happiness Works. Whoops, I lost something. Happiness Works. I think it's Get Yours Now, but I might be, I might have said that wrong. He'll correct me. Okay. He's been on television, radio, and print. He's been honored all over the place for what he's doing. He was appointed to the board of directors of something I never knew existed before, the European Happiness Association, and like, who doesn't want to work for them, right? The third edition of this book that he wrote, Happiness Works, Get Yours Here, that is the name of it, and the publication of that was around the time that he also was appointed to this board of directors, and his website, happinessworksforyou.com, he's reaching people all over the world with his message of how to be happy. And so now he's here to tell us about happiness, and not just, this isn't just some generic kind of class. I mean, this is actually some really interesting ways of viewing what happiness is, because if you know me at all, you know that I am a stickler for defining terms. It's really important that we know what we're talking about, and we're all talking about the same thing when we get into a discussion or a class. So there's so many views of what is happiness. We're gonna nail that down, and we're gonna tweak it, and we're gonna hear Stephen tell us exactly what it is, what stops people from having it, and what can be done to bring it to you. And look at him; he hasn't stopped smiling since he came in here. This is a man who I truly can see is just full of happiness. It just bubbles out all the time. So welcome, Stephen. Thank you for joining us tonight. Connie, I'm going to hide your camera so we can be bigger now, okay? But we're glad that you're here, and thank you for helping me with the intro. Okay, there. I just put Connie in timeout. Just kidding, Connie. Love you. Okay. Stephen, hello. How are you tonight?
Well, hello. I am grand, thanks, and what a pleasure it is to be here. So thanks so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're just too fascinating for me not to have brought you here. And I think this is a really great way to start off our interview series for the year with just happiness. Geez, I mean, how often do you think to yourself, gee, am I happy? I mean, I just if somebody asks you that, most people, if you ask them, are you happy, they kind of go, I guess, or no, or something like that, you know, and okay. But it's not the same, is it? So let's just jump right in. And Stephen, tell us, what's your definition of happiness? What does it mean?
Okay, so I started off on my happiness journey a long time ago. And one of the things that I recognized was there didn't seem to be a good definition of it. So I started doing my normal thing when I don't find what I'm looking for. I ask the universe. And over time, I came up with this idea. But let me not tell you what it is. Let me let you try it on first, and then I'll explain what it is. So imagine for a second that you are truly loving yourself. Everything about you, despite any perceived flaws, you're loving everything about who you are. That you are thankful and grateful for everybody and everything around you. And that you are busily engaged in what is most meaningful to you. That
sounds like my life. So before you continue, wait. Hold on, before you continue, let's ask everyone right now to type in the chat box on a scale of 1 to 10 how close they are to that, okay? With 1 being nowhere nearby and 10 being that's my life, baby, okay? Just a number 1 to 10, how close are you on a scale to that kind of happiness?
This is great, actually, because if they were all 10s, we wouldn't have much of a class here, would we?
That's cool. We'd be like, okay, bye. I think I might be 8 personally. I think lately things are going really well. They're going my way, and that's been like a conditional push in this direction. Though we should talk about conditional and unconditional, I suppose. But oh, Galen, oh my darling, I love you so much. But wait, that's a low number. Yeah, there's that ebb and flow idea, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Okay, so there you've got a scale to work
we
with. Stephen, hi Lori, glad you made it.
my friends, it's great that you're all here. So let me tell you what happiness is then. What you just experienced there, very briefly, is called harmony. Happiness is harmony. And harmony with three things. Harmony with ourself, harmony with our environment, and harmony with our true purpose for living, where we get great meaning. And so when we have all of that, then we can be ending unhappiness for good. And
Great laugh.
That is a great way of living.
Okay, so that sounds really awesome, and I'm sure we'd all like to be there. But let's go back and hear more about you, because we need to know some things about how you became this happy guy. You know, when and why did you decide to go on a quest for happiness? What part of your life did this shift happen?
Okay, so I was born a happy person. And when I joined the Royal Canadian Air Force and I got my job as a fighter pilot, I thought that was a great job. There I was, keeping the world peaceful and having a great time doing it. And then about midlife, my life got really busy. My career took off in a big way, and I was looking after over 1,000 people and more than $1 billion worth of assets. There were all kinds of people who thought that they knew more than I did and that I shouldn't be looking after them. They should be telling me what to do. And at the same time at home, we had 3 children in 39 months, and they were just in primary school at that time. So it was really busy at work, and it was really busy at home, and some level of conflict arose there. And I tried to bring it together, but that didn't work. And so it just got to the point where I was fighting at work, I was fighting at home, and I was fighting inside myself. And that eroded my happiness. So one morning back in 2001, I was going to work in the morning. I just had another fight at home with my wife. And so I was walking down the road, and my head was down, and, you know, things are going round and round like they do. There's no solution in sight. And then I had this moment of epiphany. Now, when you hear it, it's just the blindingly obvious, but to me it was momentous. I realized I'm feeling badly again. That's not me. I don't do that. And that made me come to this decision where, okay, that's it. I'm getting happy again no matter what. But what I also decided, which is unusual, most people, when they get to the end of their rope, what they do is they decide to change their environment. New people, new places, new work. But I decided to change me. And so I started working on learning mind-shifting skills. And, you know, that wasn't new to me. I'd always been interested in how the human mind worked and how you could get it working better. So this was sort of more down that track, but much more focused going down that track. And then almost immediately after that, I ended up at a conference for an entirely different reason. And I discovered my purpose for living, which is helping to create a happier world. So it's amazing how these things line up, right? And so then getting onto that track of helping the world be happier has been driving me every day ever since that. And I just keep going further and further down that pathway and loving it more and more and more.
All right. All right, but listen, I mean, you know, let's get real. I mean, the world sucks. There's so much crap going on right now. There's so much violence and pain and horrible news, war and poverty and oh my God. And everywhere you look, you know, you can hardly ignore the news, the things that are coming at us about how much the world sucks. So how do you be happy in a world like that?
Okay, so let's first figure out that world. Whose world is it? Is it your world? Is it somebody else's world? Or is it my world? Not really. So what I like to do is make a clear distinction between what is mine to do and what is somebody else's to do. And so I know there's big messes out there, and I don't call it the news, I call it the mess. So I mostly don't listen to it. But even when I do, I keep in my mind that the thing that's going on here is the media, they're looking around with a soda straw and they're looking for all the ugly stuff. In the world, more than 90% of what is going on is good, and more than 90% of what we're hearing is evil. So it's really a mismatch. So why expose ourselves to that when it's things that we can't do anything about?
Good question. How do you know that 90% of the world is good when all we get is the bad? I know this wasn't on your list. I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But I'll tell you why I say that. I have seen studies, that those that do criminology studies, that say from 3 to 5% of the population are criminally minded. And so I extrapolate that to goodness and badness, but I give it a buffer of an additional 5% just to be safe. But I believe it is. Like, you know, I live in a big city. I drive the bus. I don't anymore, but I used to commute on the bus every day. I see lots of people, and right, everybody's talking about that stuff, but they're all being polite to each other, and they're all being okay. And I've been around a long time. I'm an old guy, right? And how many days have I actually seen all that mess? Way less than 10%. So it's a distorted view which plays into the negative bias of the human brain. You know about the negative bias because the positive psychology folks have tested this. And what they say is that we have a negative bias because it's fear-driven, and way back when our ancestors were around, the idea was it was more important to save ourselves from being eaten by a tiger than it was to get our next meal. And so we always have this bias toward looking for the problems. So it takes an effort to get beyond that. And that's exactly what it's about, is be effortful.
Cool.
You know
all right.
Effort,
yes, go on.
Effort is also an acronym.
It's an acronym for what?
Energy for fulfilling our results and treasure chest.
Again, please. Again, please. Energy.
Energy.
Go on.
For fulfilling our results and treasure chest.
Treasure chest.
So when we put out energy, we get the results we dream of. You know, whether it's health, fitness, success, money, whatever, relationships. When we put out energy, then we get what we want, those results. And that, it gets us paid because we are the people that help. You don't help by sitting around avoiding work. You help by putting energy in and achieving work. So this is the whole idea. When I started on this journey, I was 25 pounds overweight. I was 3 inches bigger around the waist. I was soft, I was weak, and I was in pain. Now, all these years later, I'm stronger than I've ever been in my life. I have more endurance, and I'm healthy, pain-free, and building wealth. Effort.
Sounds like an
energy.
improvement.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Well,
pretty cool.
Back in my early 40s, I used to think that mastery of living was really about learning to not sweat. So if you could successfully deal in a calm way with everything that happened to you, you were a master of living. So I prided myself on not sweating. Now I love to sweat every day. I think it's just grand. But there's no happiness without action.
That's interesting. Okay, I want to hear more about that. But first, yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, not all action brings happiness, but purposeful action brings happiness.
Purposeful action. Got it.
Yeah.
Good. We'll come back to that because I still have to drill down just a little bit because okay, we got the big picture about we don't try to fight what we can't control or the biased view that's coming from the news. So cool. But okay, everyone in their day-to-day life deals with a little bit of crap. I mean, a little bit of like, that sucked, or a little bit of, oh, that person was rude, or a little bit of, that didn't work out the way I wanted, or something really got in my way, or someone really ticked me off. I mean, come on. So, see, even Joan says, for sure, we're getting comments that like, yeah, Alice, you're right. Okay, so I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy. I want to know, isn't this part of the reality of life, and how do you be happy with all that?
It can be, but you don't have to fight. And I have perfected the skill of not fighting. It doesn't matter who comes at me with what. There's two aspects to this. One is the energy aspect, right? As you get happier, you raise your energy level and less problems come your way. So I'm not saying that people are attacking me with guns and knives and sticks and stones. But, you know, people like to dig at you and people like to really insult you and things like that. Not a problem. Because what do we normally do is we put up our defenses and we fight back, right? We either go, no, that's not true. Or we go, oh, what about you? Hey, what about you? I don't do that.
Like a little A. Right.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah, so I teach a fun shop on this, actually, how to end fighting and arguing in your life. So when somebody comes at me verbally, I say to them, tell me more. I embrace it. Tell me more.
Do you really want to hear it?
Yeah, so as they're telling me more, then it doesn't matter what it is. I can just think and maintain my resourcefulness, and then I can decide how I want to react. Because if I react instinctively, I'll attack. But that'll just escalate the whole situation. So I don't want to do that. I want to de-escalate the situation, so I accept it. There's a lot of martial arts teach that, right? It's the same idea. So you accept what's coming in, and then you ask for more, and then that usually will diffuse the whole situation. And then you can say, well, thank you. I'll seriously consider changing that. It really takes the whole steam out of the argument.
And so if they're yelling at you about all the things that are pissing them off, you don't take it in and get insulted or get upset. You ask for more. Does that feel like torture?
No. Well, first of all, I don't give people very much reason to be angry at me.
That's obvious.
You know, when you do good, you feel good. But some people don't like people feeling good around them. Yeah, so some people don't like you being happy around them. But they're not at that energy level, and they resist that. So they try to bring you down. So it can happen. But it doesn't take very long for them to run out of steam. And then, you know, you preserve your own dignity, you preserve your own autonomy, and you actually can listen and say, maybe they got a good point. Maybe it is something I want to change.
Or maybe there's
that on your own time, in your own way.
Okay. I'm totally going to try this. I'm going to try this. This is a new one for me. Tell me more. It's usually the last thing that I might want to say. It's so counterintuitive in so many ways. Like, I kind of would rather say, shut up, you know, or, oh my, Galen. Okay, well, that's the opposite. She never called back. Well, yeah, probably so. But, you know, the last thing you usually feel like saying is, tell me more. And usually you feel like saying, stop talking. You know?
Yeah, I know. But hey, how do you react when someone tells you what to do? Not very well, usually, eh?
It depends.
So when you tell them to stop talking, yeah.
Good.
Okay. So
it's good. Yeah. Galen, you're funny. Okay, so let's find out. Okay, so let's move forward, because this is really already so interesting, and I really appreciate what you're bringing here to the discussion, and that you're letting me throw these at you, and you're just smiling through it and answering without being like, stop asking me the hard questions. Okay, so what tools do you use to stay happy? Because most people have moods that fluctuate, you know, through the day. Through everything. Sometimes I'm in a good mood, sometimes I'm in a bad mood. That might change in another 5 minutes. I mean, I don't know. How do you stay happy?
Okay. So there's 5 tools in the book, right? So the primary tools, the foundational tools are these. Give yourself permission to move beyond where you grew up in. You know, those are limitations. Give yourself permission to move beyond those. Then the second one is learning. See trouble, see negativity as a learning opportunity, because it is. The one purpose of negativity is to be the signpost for my next way of learning and growing into more. And then forgiveness. Forgiving the other person, forgiving yourself, and doing it as many times as it takes to stop it coming up in your head. And then gratitude. Everybody knows about gratitude, but gratitude for your knowledge and your ability to let go of those troubles. I am so grateful not to be carrying that crap around anymore. So those are the foundational tools. There's a couple other things, though. Is like I said earlier, I take full responsibility for me. Everything happens to me, I consider that I had some role in creating it, and I have some role in resolving it. And then I give everybody else the same right. They have full responsibility for them. I don't need to get in their stuff. That's their stuff. You created it, you solve it. If you want my help, ask me. I'll be happy to help. You don't want my help? I'll be happy to go away.
Okay. Okay. That seems easy.
So it's not that I'm always infectiously laughing. It's not that I'm always really blissful or whatever. But I am never less than hopeful and optimistic. So
That's
it's not
nice.
that I've built happily ever after. It's that I've ended unhappiness for good. So I'm never frustrated. I'm never angry. I'm never stressed.
Do you want to look at this? You showed me this when we met yesterday. And I think that it's kind of a good time to show this to our students here. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so. So the emotional guidance scale, as you can see, there is a downward spiral and there is an upward spiral. And you will know from your own experience that it works this way. You know, if you start on the downward spiral, getting angry at somebody, then you don't have to tell yourself very often about how bad that other person is before you get really worked up and get really angry. And the same thing happens if you do, one of the things I like to do is called the gratitude spiral. I just start off going, oh, thank you for breathing. Thank you for this home. Thank you for this roof over my head. Thank you for this clothes. Thank you for the money I have in my pocket. Thank you for the friends I have. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you can do exactly the same thing in the opposite direction.
Is anyone else laughing besides me right now? Okay, good.
What we think is that our feelings happen to us, but they don't. We create our feelings.
Oh my God.
Thoughts. And so you can have control over your own thoughts.
Wow.
So
everybody's loving you right now.
Well, thank you, everybody. It's fun to do it.
Oh my God. Who wants to go spend the weekend at Steven's house? Me.
Yes, yes, yes.
You're close enough, Joan. Oh my God. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay, you gotta tell us more. I mean, wow. How? Okay. So you definitely found some keys to what works inside you, and that permeates into your life and your enjoyment of your life. So when people come to you,
Yeah.
And they contact you or they're in your life and they say, Stephen, I'm so freaking miserable, or just I don't know how to be as happy as you, how do you help them?
Yeah, okay, so in my coaching, I do mind shifting. I'm a mind shifting expert. So
Cool.
thoughts are things. And if you understand the language of our mind, then you can just shift that the processes in your mind. See, most of the therapy that people go under has them dealing with the issue, what that issue is about. I don't give a damn what the issue is about. What I care about is how do they process that issue in their mind. And so what I will do is I will go through that in a very clever way that shifts the thinking pattern. It doesn't shift the memory of what happens or what goes on. It shifts the pattern that is creating that thing. This is the beauty of neuro-linguistic programming. It works on the process rather than the content. It's very cool. You don't spend any time talking about what happened that went wrong. You spend all your time working on what do you want instead. And then just build it.
Yes, I'm familiar with that as well as tapping. There are techniques to help you release unwanted thoughts and experiences. And if you release them, then you can get to this place of not having all this baggage to carry around, right?
Exactly. See, we all grow up in what I call the inherited emotional jail. And what that is it's the constraints of what we lived with when we were really young, and it's the beliefs and limitations of what was going on then, when our parents didn't really know how to deal with it either because they had never been parents before. So we all have this. And then we think that we have to live with it because, you know, these hurts of the past that everybody has, they keep coming up in the present. The reason they come up in the present is because your subconscious thinks that you're mature enough to deal with it now. But nobody ever taught you how. So I'll show you how. I'll help you get rid of those things so they never pop up again. You can have peace of mind.
Wow. Cool. So cool. You mentioned when I talked to you yesterday that there were categories of things that people are unhappy about. Is that right? Or yeah, categories? Yeah. Can you talk about that?
There's only 4 things that make us unhappy. See, remember I told you I was trying to figure out what happiness was? Well, yeah. That was the first thing that came to me from the universe, that there's only these 4 things. So I flipped it on its ear in order to figure out what happiness is. So the 4 things are this. Something in our past that was a hurt that remains unresolved and makes us feel bad over and over and over again is the first one. The second one is something about us now, either the way we look or the way we behave, that we don't like. And that makes us feel bad. And then the third one is something around us, either a person or a place or a thing that ticks us off in some way every time we see it or think of it or smell it or hear it. And then the last one is either not knowing or feeling unable or unwilling to get what we want. And as near as I can tell, those are the only 4 things that really get us off.
Everything seems to flop into one of those categories.
Yeah, it's not really that hard to deal with any one of those categories. You know, maybe it'll take a month. Maybe it'll take 3 months. And then in a year, it's all gone. Imagine, 1 year, you're free.
That's pretty cool. So, Okay, so so Joan says, how do you dissolve these categories of unhappiness? So everything falls into a category. So what do you do with this lump of stuff?
Yeah. Well, I have a program and I have a process. It's called the Heights of Happiness Coaching. And so the way it works is the first thing you do is you give yourself permission, and then you start dealing with the hurts of the past. And I do that by lumping them into, again, subcategories, right? Because if you had to deal with every hurt of the past that ever happened, you'd be busy for the rest of your life. But we don't have to work in retail. We can work wholesale. So what I do is I group them together by the emotion that they drive. So let's say, there are a few issues that you have internally that drive your fear, a few that drive your anger, a few that drive your guilt, a few that drive your whatever else it is. And most people have between 3 and 5 of those emotions. And in each emotion, there are between 3 and 5 things that they need to learn about that. So you can do usually 1 emotion per session, and then in about a month, you're done. You got it all solved. And you apply those tools like I talked about, right? Like there are some nuances on how you do it so you don't get stuck in it, and you need to have the skills in order to do that. But you use the tools I already talked about of permission and learning and forgiveness and gratitude.
Cool.
And then the next thing you do after that is then you teach how do I get along with everything around me? How do I stop letting everything do that? So that has to do with your boundary layer. Everybody has a boundary layer, so we like to adjust the boundary layer. That's really good. And then learn a few advanced linguistics, like tell me more.
I like that one. I'm going to try that on my kids. Going to throw them so off.
Oh yeah. But that's how I knew what I was doing was working. Because at the beginning of my 7 years of no unhappiness, I had 3 teenagers, 3 cats, a dog, and an unbelieving wife in my home. And when the kids tried to push my buttons, I started laughing instead of getting angry. And I said, yes, it's working.
They're like, Dad's crazy.
Yes, he's gone wacky. Thank you.
That's what my kids would say. They'd be like, Mom's gone off the deep end.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happened, right? Like for a long time, as I was on this journey, they were going, get away from me. Get away from me, right? And now, over time, now they're all going, well, maybe I need to get a little more active. Maybe I need to eat a little better. Maybe I need to. And so we haven't had any arguments, like any fights in our home for months and months and months, maybe years, in fact.
Wow.
So
nice.
It works. Happiness works.
Such the name of your button program.
Yeah. Even for people that don't want it to. But anyway, there's one more part to the Heights of Happiness program, and that's about connecting with purpose, because that's where meaning comes from, and that's where deep, lasting happiness, fulfillment, passion, that all comes from there. What everybody wants more than anything is meaning.
Yeah.
And I feel every day with meaning.
How?
Yeah, so there's a question. What was my wife's reaction? Yeah, my wife didn't like it. No. She fought me on it for a long time. And I don't fight, so it didn't really matter. And eventually, and it took a while, she realized that she was fighting with herself. And so things are shaping up much, much, much better. So she's coming around, and I'm coming around, and it's all getting better and better and better and better.
Yeah, I can relate. Sometimes the best way for someone to learn is just to see you doing it and it working. It's better than trying to convince somebody.
By far. You know, Einstein said, example is not only a good way of learning, it's the only way of learning. Because the more you try to tell somebody to do something, the more they get entrenched in not doing it, because everybody wants autonomy. And it's really hard to argue with somebody who only talks about themselves. You know, if you want to fight with somebody, all you have to do is tell them what they're thinking or what they're feeling. And they'll come back at you right away. No, that's not right. But if you talk about your own stuff, we all know this, right? But we don't always do it. But if you talk about your own stuff, nobody can argue with that. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't think so.
That's why they say use I statements. I mean, we've all heard that before.
Yeah, but we don't all do it.
That's true. Well, it's something to learn and practice. It's not something that just can happen overnight. And it seems like you've really gotten to the point where you've got it going, and it's just natural.
Learn, that's a word that's worth talking about. Because in our society, we have this malaise, and it's intentional, I think, about learning. Because we learn in school that learning means to have something in our head and then to be able to regurgitate it on command. And if we do that well, we're great. And if we don't do that well, we're bad. But in the real world, learning about something like that, being able to just have it in your head, doesn't work. It doesn't get us any new result. New results only come from action, new action. And so it's not learning about that we want. It's learning to do. We want to do better. So learning is really about new experience. So when I say learning, I'm not talking about some new idea. I'm talking about some new feelings, some new internal processes, and some new ways of approaching things.
Oh.
That's what I give you when I talk about learning.
Good distinction. Important.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good. So I think everybody here wants your book, but I think they all are wondering this next question. If we read your book, will it make us happy like you?
Well, I'm so glad I just said what I just said. Because the answer is not very much if you just read it.
I think I know where you're going here.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about Phil. Phil was a guy that I met. Yeah, Phil. Phil was a guy that I met. He was a hardworking guy, and he went home one day, and his wife had left and taken their son with her, and she had moved to a condo that she'd saved enough money up on the quiet in order to make a down payment on. And she wasn't interested in counseling. She wasn't coming back. And Phil was blown away. He didn't know what to do. He was distraught beyond belief. And he had this picture in his mind of, growing old together and having this nice retirement. And now it was all going down the drain. So Phil, not knowing what to do, went to visit his brother, who was a friend of mine. So I met Phil there. And I talked to him for about an hour. And I came away from there thinking, wow, Phil's going to have to change his mind. But I gave him a copy of my book before I left. And he called me up 3 days later. He said, I want you to know I've read your book 4.5 times. He said, it's dog-eared, it's underlined, it's highlighted, there's margin notes, and I've made notes on the side. I have 3 questions for you. So I answered his 3 questions about the material. And then he called me up a week later. He said, good news. She's going to counseling with me. Yay! I was shocked. I almost fell over. But what I knew had happened is that Phil had worked to embody everything that was in there. He was desperate for change, right? So when we're in crisis mode, we're much more open to change. And Phil was really open, and he really took it on. 2 weeks later, he said, good news. We're dating now every day. We're going to the library. We're going out for pizza. We're walking in the park. It's going well. And another 2 weeks later, he said, great news. She's moving back in. And they're back together now. And they've been back together now for a couple of years. So this is the power of action on what it says. So the 3rd edition. Why did I publish a 3rd edition? I published a 3rd edition to make it easier to take action. So there are a lot of things in the 3rd edition that weren't in the 2nd edition that will make it easier for you to do the exercises. There's a meditation at the end of each chapter that embodies parts of the exercises. There's little things that I put in there in order to make it less easy to skip by the exercises with that great intention of going back and, oh, I forgot.
It's going to read a little more.
Summary at the end of every chapter. Yeah. So this book is kind of like a textbook, right? Like it's entertaining to read, I've been told. But it's not a book you read and put back on your shelf. It's a book about doing. It's a book about experiencing. And the people that have the best success with it, theirs looks like a well-worn friend. I have a couple of people that I know of that have that thing, it's almost falling apart. You know, it hardly looks like a book anymore. It looks like a stack of paper. It's been leafed through so many times. There are so many things scratched on it, but they are getting the results. So it's all
you gotta
in
do
there.
The work.
You can get whatever you want, but it takes action.
Action. Good. Now, so, yes?
There's some other ways I can help you take action, though. In addition to my coaching, I have an online community. And the online community...
We're getting to that. Hold on, that's on the next slide. I want you to talk about it there.
Okay.
But...
Yeah.
Let's just, we're almost through, but I want to ask this, I want this last question, I want you to address this, because there are so many people that they want to be happier. There's this vision of happiness that they know they're not touching, but they don't know what's their life purpose. They don't know how to be happier. They don't know why they're unhappy. They're just like, they're fine, but they're not giddy like you, okay? So what would you just suggest to them?
Yeah.
Those
so
people.
What you need to do is you need to start small. Like, you know, when I was overweight and soft and weak and I wanted to get fit, I didn't go out and run a half marathon. I started really small. And that's exactly the way you start getting happy again, is you start really small. So what I would recommend that you start off with is getting outside and walking a bit every day. Like the first time, if you have never done this and you really don't want to do it, then do it 1 minute the first day, 2 minutes the second day, and keep doing that for a month. You'll only get to the end of your driveway the first day, and then maybe a little bit further the second day. But by the end of the month, you'll have a 30-minute a day walking routine. So that is good. And then the other thing I would recommend you start off with is a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, just write down 3 things that you might want to be grateful for. And that is shown by science to be there. But if you really want to do something, then you need one of these, the Awesomeometer. I love my Awesomeometer because every time I feel good, I give it a click. And I count it up over time. And over time, it just keeps magnifying. It's awesome. That's why it's called the Awesomeometer.
Wow, the Awesomeometer. So you look and see how many times you've clicked today, or you keep track of it?
Yeah, I do.
What are you up to?
Today I'm 546.
Wow. That is awesome. Now you gotta click it again. Yes. Oh my God. I love this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Keeping track of how happy you are. I mean, that is, yeah, I know, right? But keeping track of like being so aware of the times that you're happy is very powerful. And you know what? That is an NLP technique. I think it is. It's very related, at least, is to being present for those moments that matter and doing something to signify it. Go.
Yeah, I take my happiness seriously. When something happens that makes me unhappy, oh boy, I'm interested. What happened there? What can I do about that? How can I grow as a person? That'll get me happy again.
It's cool. You got to be really detached enough to be able to be objective and not just go flying with that feeling into the yucky place.
Into the down pit. Into the pit.
Right.
I don't like the pit.
Ooh. No, most of us just, we don't like it either, but we just go there. So for you to be present enough to say, oh, I'm noticing something, now I want to change that, or I want to look at it and I want to see what can I do to learn from this, take action in the right direction, and then you don't get sucked in. Now that's hard.
You know why that is, though? It's not that I'm so special. It's that I'm connected with my purpose. And being connected with that purpose is what makes me so attentive to it. So everybody can do that, just to connect with their own purpose, which is the third part of the Heights of Happiness coaching program.
Ta-da!
Oh yeah.
All right, it's time. It's time to talk about it.
Okay, so here's my gift to you. Is I have an online community, and I just love my online community. And I go on there every morning, and I put on some post, something that'll inspire them for the day, and something that'll give them something that they can think about and take action on. And, you know, different members will post their own stuff, or if somebody has a question, they'll post it and we'll answer it. And it just is a growing community that's supporting each other in developing the ending unhappiness for good. I call it the stairway to happiness heaven. Because it is a kind of a climb, right? It's an uphill climb, but it's so rewarding. The view is spectacular. So in addition to the online, it's a private Facebook page is what we use. And then in addition to that, I send you one email a week that has a real tip or a tool in it that you can use. And then once a month, we have a webinar. And what I do is I get on there, and the whole group comes on, and I talk about the latest things that I'm personally learning, because I'm always on a learning journey, and I think most people find that interesting. And then I do some group coaching. So anybody who's got an issue, we just deal with it right there and then. And then that helps everybody who's listening in. And then we talk about where the company is going. What do we want more from the company, Happiness Works, and what can I do more to help you guys out? Or if I have some ideas on how I think I'm going to do that, then I'll try that out on you and see what you think of it. And that's what we do. It takes about an hour, and it's fun. And we get to laugh. So I'd love to see you guys on there. That would be really hugely fun.
So Joan's asking, so happiness comes, she's asking for validation. Happiness comes from within? Is she understanding that correctly?
Absolutely. There's no lasting happiness from out. It's all from inside out.
It sounds like there's a lot of a decision involved in that too. You decide you're going to be happy. You decide that's what you want, and everything else becomes a way to get there. Yeah. You know, how am I going to deal with this? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I want to especially welcome anyone who's new. I see a lot of familiar names, people who are already students of Reiki Awakening Academy, but if this is your first time, and even if it isn't, just because you're here and enjoying this amazing interview that we've been having and this great, hilarious time with Steve and Whiteley, we want to offer you the chance to, continue to come to Reiki Awakening Academy and try out some more classes, because they are all this fun. Well, in different ways. you might not laugh at it quite as much as we did tonight, but you definitely will come away with some amazing tools, and no matter what you take. And we have posted classes now through June. So you can choose some really new and exciting classes or things you've been meaning to take. There's our teacher, Kara Seekings, who's the newest one on our staff right now, has put up a whole bunch of classes, including something not so funny but very powerful, a new series called Hospice Companion, which teaches you, there's 4 classes involved, and you actually get a certificate if you take all 4. So it's definitely something to look at. But anyways, your next class that you take with us, we are offering you $15 off because you're here tonight, which is a really good savings. In fact, it's almost half. So if you just use the code INTERVIEW when you check out. And I encourage you all to check out Happiness Works, Stephen's book, at happinessworks4u.com, and join his join his group, because what could be more fun? I can't even imagine. I mean, really, this is just a little taste. I mean, seriously, get a taste of Stephen, you gotta have more, right? I mean, jeez. like I can't go back to my life and just be like, oh, I need more. But anyway, if you want to learn more about how happiness works, you got to get his book, for reals, and join up. And so we're just so grateful. If you have any questions right now, now's the time. Yeah, she said, yeah. Stephen will follow you anywhere, you amazing man, you beautiful man.
Thank you very much, Joan. I'd love to see you on our online community and to meet up with you any other way that you'd like.
Quick Q&A, guys. Any questions for Stephen right now? I know we've been asking as we go along, but if you have any questions, please ask now, and then we're going to be done for the night with our profound gratitude and taking our hilariously happy moods with us. Everyone will receive by email, probably tomorrow or Thursday, the link to the recording of this class, which I will stop the recording shortly. And then you'll also have a reminder of the links to the awesome gift from Stephen's book, and also a reminder of the coupon code that you can use to sign up for your next class. But grab it, because these classes, please use the offer by April 30th, if you would please. There will be more coming up in our next interview. I hope you continue to come to the Reiki Awakening Academy free interview series. We will have one every month through July with other amazing and inspiring people, and free for you, and always with a gift and special offers as well. So much to learn and enjoy and grow. Oh, there's a really good question there. Oh my God, yeah. Stephen, look at Willie's question.
Yeah. That's a great question, Willie. And when you tell them that, see, there's sort of three things that people are coming at you for. One is to try to just dominate you and put you down. Another one is that they actually want to help you because they want you to learn. Or the other thing is that, you know, they really are offended by something that you do. So every now and then, somebody will give you something, especially where you're unintentionally offending somebody. You know, maybe you knew you did that, but you weren't aware, or maybe you didn't even know. And when you say, tell me more, and you can say that more than once, right? Or you can ask using different words for specific details if you're not clear. So sometimes, yeah, you can, like in that latter case where they're really trying to help you, or they're absolutely offended by what you did, then you can get something positive. But most of the time, as soon as you say, tell me more, the wind goes out of the whole thing.
We have to all try this.
Oh, yeah. Excellent. Well, I want to say to everybody, I'm so glad you came tonight. It's been a real pleasure having you here. And it's been really fun for me helping you to learn a little bit more about how you can be happy. And it would be my true delight to work with you in any way.
Thank you. It's really awesome to meet you. I thank you for giving us your hour tonight and preparing this discussion and bringing some really, really fascinating insights to the whole idea of happiness to our students and those who gave their time here tonight live, and who are going to watch and those who are watching the video, and maybe us, because we may be re-watching it just to get our happy on, because honestly I think I'm going to need to do that a few more times. Oh yeah.
What a good idea.
I love this guy. We look like we're in the same room, but we're totally not. And it's just like the way our camera feeds. Our rooms kind of blend into each other. Really, it's kind of cool. But
Actually,
but we're not.
Great Lakes away.
Yes, indeed. Oh my God, we love you. You're awesome. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. I'll make an official stopping of the recording here. Thank you for coming, everyone.